Jukdringwe re shalak shajanai la nuhwadi digan jukwinklosoi leads Jukdrin dija Dewey Kk'ołeyo Hoffman Vaccination Dewey ninjadonch
Angwinzi Shojri Kk'ołeyo Oji Zahuzun Kk'ołeyo Sauza Tleg Hut Anaslan Bezicht Anaslan Tla Laura Hut and Zadanslit Dehun Fairbanks Lista Ina A Quetzaltuna Deolin Beuza Ita A Kani Al David Hoffman Beuza Tlega Ganaga Hadach de Geer Sa Kunak Nakan Beuza Sedena Talela Beuza. My name is Dewey Kk'ołeyo Hoffman. My family comes from Ruby, Alaska, and I'm Kk'ołeyo Athabaskan. My parents are Dee Olin and David Hoffman. My late grandparents are Lillian and Fred Olin, as well as John and Lorraine Honey on my mom's side. And on my dad's side, my late grandparents are George and Helen Hoffman. My wife, Marjorie Kunak Nakant Tabon, is from Nome, and we have one child, Talela Ingmarana. Super happy to be here sharing this time with you today. Basi for the invitation.
Winzi Masicho. This is our second episode of Language Journeys, and the intention for this series is just to have people come and share what language means to them and what type of work and projects they're up to, and some of the, maybe a language lesson at the end. And so we're just very glad to have you here, and we could just start off maybe like talking about your work with language. I know you've been working for some years now, learning and as well as teaching. And what about it do you feel like motivates you to do this type of work?
I think my main motivation with language work is the connectedness I feel with others, with my family, with our larger community. So I've had the chance to become connected to learning communities with not only Denaakk'e or Kk'ołeyo Athabaskan, my heritage language, but also with Inupiaq, my wife's language, and also with Gwich'in. More recently, our daughter goes to the Tanan Gwich'in language nest, and we're about almost 2 months now. We've been going there. On the weekends, the parents go in and learn the language together. And of course, the little ones are there all day, Monday through Thursday. And I've seen a lot of joy and laughter. My daughter is more comfortable with people. She's making friends. I'm excited to hear every day when we pick her up what she did, and she lists out who her classmates are and who visits and a little bit about maybe one thing they did that day. She's turning 3 this month, so she's understanding quite a bit of the language and just starting to produce some of the Gwich'in sounds. So although we're not Gwich'in ourselves, my wife and I have strong connections through friendship and mentorship among the Gwich'in learning community. So we're excited to be included in that, and it feels really good to also support an ongoing effort with creating more Gwich'in Dinjijukia speakers.
Yeah, I'm very happy that your daughter's in that group, and it just shows your dedication towards language, that it's not a heritage language per se, but it's related, it's related to Denaakk'e, and I think learning Gwich'in will help learning Denaakk'e as well, and they're just very structurally similar. You scratch the surface, and there's a lot more in common between all of our Athabaskan languages than there are differences. So I really appreciate that. And the thing too, I've had a chance to visit the Tanan and see the kids there with Hilda and talk with Yvonne, and it's just a very supportive type of environment. I know that's something that really matters to you and something that you strive to create as well, like creating a supportive environment for people trying to learn their language and to support others who are on the similar journey. So would you like to talk a little bit about that? What do you do to create that supportive environment?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot we can do to support each other across languages. previous to this, I was involved with the effort to push myself to become a language educator, language teacher, and with support of the Doyon Foundation and the Alaska Native Heritage Center, I was involved with teacher training. I think that was back in 2016, 17. And what was really fun about that is the Denaakk'e learners and instructors teamed up with Denaakk'e learners and instructors and shared our space, had meals together, and then we would go off into our separate areas to focus on the individual languages. And yet having that solidarity made it feel much more comfortable, made it feel like we could approach challenges or troubleshoot together, as well as share some of the logistics and costs associated. So it was a really good chance to collaborate, I guess, and be true partners. And that's what I see that's what I see more happening, especially with younger generation of Dene language learners, is we're really open to participating in other settings or learn across languages in order to have that long-term goal of lifting up this work, because it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of sustained years and years trying. And when I first got involved, it seemed a little intimidating, and maybe I felt like I wasn't really prepared or set up for success. And I think I still confront some of those emotions, like I'm not good enough or I'm not smart enough to do this work. And yet what I tell myself and others is our ancestors and our families who came before us, they set out this path, these values that they lived in their lives, and showed a lot of strength and a lot of resiliency for all kinds of changes that they saw in their lifetimes. And here I am, I'm really pretty in a place of privilege where I could access resources, funding, encouragement to do this language work. And I want to see all kinds of people get involved, whether they're from that heritage language group or not. And we've seen, like, for example, non-native people learning indigenous languages or specific culture groups learning other languages, that as the community grows, it becomes more attainable. There's more pathways to learning and practicing our languages. So I think with that comes a sense of our languages returning, and it's not so lonely. My long-term goal is to really just get involved with the humor and the jokes. I want to know what the grandmas are laughing about, because every time our elders get together, they're just cracking up the whole time and telling stories. And I think that's my motivation, is to get in on the joke. So it's when you put the language journey in those terms, it's more approachable. I'm not seeking a degree or accreditation. I'm seeking a closer tie to the people that I love and care about.
Yeah, I do remember visiting the Denaakk'e and Kk'ołeyo language workshop at the Alaska Native Heritage Center, and I think it was a culmination that I was able to attend at the Airbnb there in Anchorage, and seeing Reverend Trimble Gilbert and Eliza Jones and all the learners that were assembled there. It was a really good feeling there, and I just really appreciated the spirit I felt in the air there. And you mentioned pathways, and in Kk'ołeyo we would say Dewey Kk'ołeyo Hoffman, which translate roughly as do not stray from the path that your ancestors left for you. And I think that language is a good way to kind of find the path, for one thing, and then also, like, it creates a path for you, I think, as you're working your way through life, and learning your language connects you with that ancestral path that was left for us. I think it's really beautiful. So there's a number of different projects you've been working on. I know you've been an advisor for the Mali of Denali project over the last several years. There's season 1 that's been released, and now they're working on season 2. And you're also leading a Denaakk'e Dedeenee learners group, and all really wonderful projects. Would you like to share anything about some of those projects you're working on?
Sure. Yeah, pretty much any opportunity I have to spend with a group that's interested in Denaakk'e resources or practicing or translation, I try to get involved with, no matter who I'm working with at the time. So I see a lot of organizations supporting this work, and it seems to be going like this, which is really good. One of the specific ones is the Mali of Denali television show, aired on PBS Kids. And one of the things that I've gotten to do with that group is review scripts, and with the other Alaska Native advisors come up with ideas for incorporating more of our cultural values and teachings into the show. So we'll see early drafts of an episode maybe, and then provide feedback, ideas for where the scene could be, or some of the meaning behind the activities they're doing. Maybe we can weave in something that we would normally do, or even want to get back to doing. There's a lot of reclamation that's happening on the show as well. It's kind of a vision for what we want to see in our communities. So we've included naming ceremonies into the show, different milestones and the characters on the show that we want to see in our real life families. And it's been fun to kind of plot some of those successes that some of us are seeing, and we want more of us to be able to participate in.
Yeah, I've heard that feedback from people who've watched Mali of Denali, and just recognizing things in there that are, that's from our culture and that's our people there. Just having that element, I think, is really one of the keys to its success and the reception it's received among our people. And I'm pretty excited too about the recent, with Mali of Denali, working on translating and putting that episodes into our languages. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with that so far?
Yeah, so we're through partnership again with the Doyon Foundation. We're going to be translating and dubbing 2 full stories into Denaakk'e alongside the Gwich'in language. So we're still exploring which ones they're going to be focused on. There's been other language groups who've done the same thing. I understand there's a Dene Bijad or Navajo language version of Finding Nemo on Disney Plus that you could just toggle through and dub it into a native language, which is so cool. That's what I want to see more of too. I think it's really important to get to listen to the language and get all the input you can, because through listening and just observing, you can absorb quite a bit. And over time, your brain will start to incorporate those sounds into meaning and something that makes sense to you.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having that project air on local PBS station and maybe even nationwide. I don't know. At least locally, we'll have those episodes broadcast in our native language, and that'll just be a wonderful thing to see. And looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we're having an open call until later in this week.
Yeah, May 14th, there's a call for actors. We've received a number of them, and we're still sorting through the audio clips and photos they've sent, and then we'll get to rehearsing and actually recording in the studio, and it's kind of a process, but yeah, I think it'll be worth it by the time.
It's going to be so fun seeing all those kids in there, excited to participate.
And you've had this Denaakk'e Dedeenee group as well. When did you guys start meeting? Was it last year? Or?
Yeah, it was really at the beginning of the pandemic. We started meeting in March of 2020, and it was also tied through the Doyon Foundation. You guys are heavily involved with this, which is awesome. And we were meeting together to support learners and advanced learners and speakers into being educators who help others learn. And so that was kind of the seed of this work is growing from someone who's experienced a lot into helping others learn.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed when I've been able to attend the Denaakk'e Dedeenee, and there's a different group of people. It seems like each meeting, or there's regulars, of course, but I've been trying to direct people to the group as well and connect them to the language learning opportunity. There's not a whole lot of opportunities out there, and I'm glad to see that this is happening. And I think there's a second group also that's meeting in the evenings. And
Yep.
so as many of those as we can create, that's really great. And then
I was going to mention too that we are open learning group. Whoever participates that day gets to chime in on things that they're working on or want to focus on for that day. Recently, we've translated some songs or been working on both traditional and modern learning songs. We want to make things approachable for families, so sometimes parents will participate and say, hey, I want to learn this activity that we can do at home with the kids. And other times it'll be other like linguistic focused or working on verb forms or things that are helping us advance from, I know a few words and phrases into I can say specific things that I'm interested in describing, or I can understand this larger concept. So it's really a wide range of learners, from beginners to speakers. Sometimes we just listen to a couple of the ladies who grew up as their first language. They'll visit, and again, we'll get a chance to listen and learn from them. So it's a pretty fun group. We meet on Mondays and Thursdays for an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
And then Tisha has started meeting in the evenings on Wednesday for folks who can't participate. And it's really collaborative, mostly made up of Fairbanks educators, Kitsu, Susan Paskvan, Lorraine David, Hook Agnes Tatla, and others calling in from all over the state and from Lower 48 as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It takes some time, to get from learning lists of vocabulary to learning how to say some phrases to learning to say a sentence, and then, to advance towards saying something creatively and original and an original thought in the language. It kind of takes a bit of a time and effort and motivation to get to that point. And I really appreciate over the years just seeing you moving through your language journey and through your learning process and creating opportunities for others to join, and all of those efforts you've been putting in over the years. What stands out? Something like, is there a phrase or something that you've learned, a language lesson that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think, excuse me, it's easy to feel like there's not enough happening or not enough you can do sometimes. So it's really important to encourage yourself and to encourage others in this work. So a phrase that I came across that I really like from Central Dialect of Denaakk'e is Huzun tsa adakona niltoich. Huzun tsa adakona niltoich. And you'll see it has these marks on there. Those are called glottal stops. Excuse me. It's kind of dry today. Those are like the sounds between the English word uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
So the first word is huzun. You want to try saying it?
Huzun.
And then it's tsa.
Tsa.
Adaka.
Adako.
Na.
Na.
Nil.
Nil.
Toich.
Toich.
Altogether, it's huzun tsa adaka na nil toich. Try it.
Huzun tsa adako na nil toich.
Aha. Huzun tsa adaka na nil toich.
And how would you translate, or what is the message of that?
Huzu is good, tsa is a connector, and adakona niltoich is describing you take care of yourself. And this huzun is like a word that means good, or sometimes you'll celebrate a learner when they're practicing and you can say huzun, like you're encouraging them.
Beautiful.
It's pretty similar to other languages. I think in Denaakk'e Dedeenee or Navajo, it's Nijoni. It's so it shows the similarities across our languages. So it's something good that you can say to yourself or to others. Huzun sa'ada kona niltoich.
That's something always to remember as you're learning and going through your process, just to forgive yourself and be kind to yourself and take care of yourself. In which end we'd say Gwinzi atak anti, like take care of yourself singular, or Gwinzi atak oti, you all take care of yourselves. So I think that's an important message, that to get through all of this process, we have to take care of ourselves so that we can help others. So I appreciate you coming. Masicho naicha nitanza.
Yeah. Aha. There was another resource. The state of Alaska has language assistance. It's through the Voting Rights Act. So they posted some materials in Denaakk'e that anyone can look up through the state of Alaska. And we worked on some translations for encouraging folks to get their COVID vaccine. So I got vaccinated fully in February, and I understand they're making it more available to more of our family members. So I think that's a huge opportunity for us to take care of ourselves and to take care of others. So the work that we did involved Velma Schaefer, Lorraine David, and Lorraine's older sister. And the word for did you get the vaccine is, I got vaccinated, is Denaakk'e Dedeenee. And if you're going to ask someone, did you get the vaccine? You could say Denaakk'e Dedeenee. Denaakk'e Dedeenee. And then you would say, aha, Denaakk'e Dedeenee. And that's describing getting your COVID vaccination. And for me, when I had that experience, it didn't have any side effects. Maybe I was a little tired, but it gave me a peace of mind because we've been living kind of in this constant state of fear and anxiety for so long.
Yeah.
And that's a hard place to be in, and just wait. So there's always something that we could do to actively protect ourselves and protect the ones we love. Even beyond just this one period in time, we are protecting our lifeways and our future when we promote language learning. It makes you feel more connected, like you have a place of belonging. And especially for our young ones who maybe don't have the chance to grow up in our homelands and participate in those cultural ceremonies and activities. Like myself, I grew up outside of my home village of Ruby, where we're from on my mom's side, and we'd go there in the summertime for fishing. But there's a lot that I missed out on in the fall, winter, and spring months. So now as an adult, I'm kind of more able to participate in those things and with my wife and daughter. And sometimes people will move out of their village for school or for their parents' work opportunities. And there's going to be more people moving around, and perhaps with that comes a loss of connection or a loss of identity. So now we're finding creative ways to strengthen those ties and to make people feel good about being tribal citizens wherever they live in the world, whether it's they come to town for work or school opportunities, or they decide to go somewhere else for what's important in their lives. And the lands and the waters, they they are definitely a part of us and for who I am. And whenever I get the chance to go out on the Yukon or to go look around, that's part of my wellness and healing. I need that throughout the year to feel less anxiety and to feel more calm and have patience with others. So I hope that during the summer months, people get a chance to reconnect with outdoors, and whatever it is you do to make yourself whole, that's an important part to incorporate into your life.
Very important messages. Thank you. I really appreciate Cherokee Nation, for instance, prioritized giving the vaccine to their elders and the speakers of the language, because they're safeguarding the language by sharing that vaccine. And I think it's important for our people too. And I think we've had a pretty good record so far of being vaccinated, and it's just so important. We don't want to lose any more of our elders and their precious knowledge. So really appreciate you coming and sharing some of your knowledge and your time, and masicho.
And grateful to you for the invitation and for all the work that you're continuing to do. And I really look up to you as a friend and mentor. And I just want to say, everyone who's viewing, thinking of you, love you, nakadista. Really appreciate all the elders who continue to stay connected. And if there's people that you can support by maybe dropping off native food or giving them a call, it would just go a long way to helping each other during this time. Huzun sa adakona nil toich na basi.
Good words to end on. Masicho, Dewey Kk'ołeyo. Take good care, everyone.